Okay, we'll call this workshop session to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we start the meeting, Peter Graham's on board and a few other people. We're not going to have the presentation today from Mr. Goldberg from Stony Brook. We're going to do that next Tuesday. We wanted time to digest it and have all our ducks in a row so we can have a nice presentation next week rather than rush it. So that'll be probably the only topic on the agenda next week is the wastewater.
Okay, thank you. And please keep me posted on.
We will. Thanks, Peter. And likewise, Jim mentioned Meg's not here, so
she's at a training session, by the way, so having her here would be, important.
Okay. All right, so we don't really have a work session agenda today. We're trying to get some things done. We worked on the budget again yesterday morning. We're going to continue today. BJ had brought up a number of issues that we need to look at. Jim has mentioned that, he has a percentage in mind that we'd like to get to. Amber and I have been working on it, and we're going to try real hard to get it to as close to 4% as we can. So with that said, we'll go over some of the things we reviewed yesterday, and I have a few answers, but I'm still waiting to hear back from some. So we'll go over the specific items first, and then we can go over the whole. The first one would be, I don't have a page, but it's the engineering department, A1440.124.
1440,
0.124.
and the intern?
The intern, and I spoke with the engineer, and he feels we can take that out this year.
Yeah.
All right, so that's 3,000 out. The next is Public Works, and I'm waiting for Brian to get back to me. We had questions about the custodians and the park and beach bathrooms maintenance.
Right.
So I'm waiting for Brian to get back to me on that. The fuel for town board buildings, I mean, I know the prices are going down, but I still feel we should be careful. I don't know if you want to, we had proposed 28,000. BJ suggestion 23.5. So I don't know. This year, where are we? Joe, do you know where we are to date on this one? A1620.24.
Yeah, I was gonna say, by the end of the, in a few days,
June.
close September, no.
So, I mean, we're gonna run out of money. All our fuel and, any fuel related lines, we're gonna run out of money. So the question is, how much do we want to anticipate for next year? I didn't go with.
It works out to about, no, okay.
It worked for 12,000 for 8 months, so if you add 6,000 to that, based on that, it gets you to $18,000 by today's money,
Yeah.
what we spent so far this year, right?
Well, this is through.
This is through August 31st, so that's 8 months.
Is that a true number through August 31st?
Yeah, so that's 2/3.
It's going to be another 6,000, I believe, for this year.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
So you said-
That's what I
So that
would
brings
say.
us up to 22 for this year, expensive year. So then I think my 23.5 is still reasonable.
Okay.
28 is what the original is. We could go to 25.
Yeah,
I think 23.5
I
is
was
good.
okay with that one.
But
Yes.
Just was pulling out.
All right, so we're gonna look at all the fuel lines. So that one, so we'll change to 23.5. $4,500 difference.
Yeah, that's, I'm not quite sure, maybe I'm missing the math on this. At 12, and the remaining 6,000, if you're based on that, why doesn't that get you to 18,000?
Well, you're right about that.
Why doesn't that get you to 18,000, folks?
Say it again, 12. wait.
So I'm looking at the same line,
What we
A
spent,
1620, 424. And through the first 8 months, as the close of August, which
Right.
was 2/3 of the year, you spent 11,480. I'll round that up to 12,000. All right, so that's 6,000 every 4 months. You have 4 months remaining of September, October, November, December. You divide that in half, you come up with 6,000, you add that to the 12,000, you get $18,000.
Yeah.
I don't know why you have to go above, it says 20,000, and I thought you were putting a little buffer there, but I wouldn't put it above that. What would you have?
There might be, I mean, what Amber had mentioned yesterday, there might be a seasonal blip. In other words, I think the trend is down, because I think we are in and will be in a little bit of a recession here. So the trend is for the prices to go down. But that's not to say that there might not be a seasonal increase as demand kicks in.
Let's hold off on this one for Brian.
Yeah.
Because, when he gets his deliveries and he
Right,
has in 2 more deliveries, he said.
That was on the,
Yeah,
gasoline.
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
this is like the cozies.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just hold off on this and, talk
I
to
think
him
you're, I
about
think you're okay there with, based on,
23.5?
Yeah, I was okay with that.
What are you saying, Jim?
I say you stay at 20, I don't know.
No, you're looking at the wrong line. It's the one above it,
Well,
28,000.
you're looking at the bottom.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, you said A 1620, 424 fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was looking at that line up here. That's fuel under town board buildings,
Yeah.
$20,000. And I'm telling you that.
28, look at that
28.
one, that one.
Oh, I was saying, I'm sorry. Okay, got you. All right.
And BJ's
Okay,
proposing
correct.
23.5.
bringing it down from 28 to 23.5.
Okay.
Let's bring it down to there, but we'll still talk to Brian and
Yeah.
find out delivery schedules.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's another 4,500.
Yes.
Next is IT and media, and I don't know that we have an answer on this yet. This was equipment, the equipment line, 1680.276. Again, we pretty much went with what was scheduled for this year, but I guess the question came in about the copier or something.
Yeah, we're gonna leave the copier that's in here, if the building department, if there's just one that's for replacement,
Mhm.
we may not even have enough money. It's possible, because it's a special item.
1680.276, IT and media.
Okay.
So I think it's really,
Okay, leave it at 33.
Mhm.
Okay. I had said 30. They came in at 33 and they made
yeah.
presentation why they needed the
There's a
33.
detailed list.
Right. Okay, the next one is the police. We, just so everybody's on top. We have, it's really not, BJ has a recommendation for boat, gas and oil, but it's really the line below it, telephone.
Yeah.
No,
No,
you have it for
Office.
telephone. It's really for office and miscellaneous.
yes, right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the office and miscellaneous we'll talk about as a whole.
Right.
Next one is EMS. The first question was communicate. First one was utilities.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, oh,
Yeah, and that one I didn't agree with because of what we were tracking.
right. We're already out of money.
Right.
Yeah, I
All right.
thought the 13 was good.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so we're gonna leave that one. And if you go down a couple more lines
I think that's right.
to
That's right.
fuel,
Right.
budgeted 15,
It's a tiny amount.
down to 600. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think let's leave that at 24.
All right.
Only $240.
Yeah.
Next one is nutrition, A6772.400.
Okay, medical center. That's that, A4560.
Very fast.
Did I have a note? Just long things. I didn't have a note on that. Oh, here, that's,
Repairs and maintenance for the medical center.
okay. That's another Brian question.
Right. Just so we hadn't spent
Yep.
very much this year. You don't encumber that, do you?
No,
No.
no. And I think there, I mean, we did such massive renovation.
correct. That's-
There just hasn't been a need to do.
Yeah, that was done 2 or 3 years ago, and that was a massive, by our standards.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah, plumbing.
I was saying there's problems with the plumbing. Well, downstairs, yeah, Christina and Meg when they did their tour of the place, it was brought to their attention. So even though physically it's in the senior center, it's part of the whole building.
Right, oh,
So I
yeah.
think that's gonna be fairly significant, so I think maybe we should leave that there.
Oh, okay,
It was a drain, a
A drain
problem
issue?
with the main drain.
Yeah.
Needs to be replaced,
all right,
the leaks.
So keep it at 51.
I think so.
all right. Nutrition.
And now we go to nutrition. And Shelley had asked him, I just had, it was a 2.5% increase, I'm not really sure.
Or,
It really wasn't, this was, we budgeted 26, we modified it to 31, and that was with donations, the modification,
right,
and we've spent 17. What does that project out to that we're gonna spend the rest of the year?
It'd be about 85, it would be 26, around 26.
Food and appliances.
Food and appliances.
Yeah.
17,79 right now.
Yes, for 8 months, so that's 2/3. If you take half of that number, it's 8,500, you add 8,500 to that, you come up with 23.5 or somewhere around there. Or 25.5,
So why don't we
25.6.
go back to the 26 we had budgeted last year? I pushed it up to 31.4 based on what we modified it, but let's go back to what, the same as we budgeted last year. That'd be a $5,000, $1,400 difference.
yeah. 10,004, that's what you're saying?
20.
No, the
we'll go back
difference
to
would be,
the 20.
the difference would be
5,400.
5,000.
Okay, thank you.
You got that, Joe?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Again, we'll talk about office miscellaneous overall. Okay, the next one I have is recreation,
Youth programs, yeah.
A7310. Youth programs, I think we discussed this, that this offsets with the revenue.
It does,
Actually, we make a little on that.
we actually do.
Yes.
And, you know, I went to the meeting last night, so I had a report
Can you get that?
level on, you know, what went well, what didn't go well. We always modify it based on that. You know, programs that are, if programs are not meet the minimum numbers where we hit the break-even point, we drop them,
Yeah.
like we did with the summer with basketball. We didn't have the numbers.
Mhm.
So for boys and girls basketball, we dropped that. But there are other programs that have kind of taken off.
Yeah.
Programs that have taken off. So it's kind of a dynamic situation, but it's pretty much try to break even, so it's self-sustaining.
Yeah,
So we're gonna leave that one.
Yeah,
That would be
So
the,
that was the expense of 30,000 for rec fees.
youth only,
Rec
you have them
youth program.
separated.
Only, yeah, it's 33,000.
right, what do you have? That's right.
That's revenue.
Oh, yeah, so it's a plus in the revenue.
one of the big programs that came about this summer was the swimming program took off.
Oh, yeah,
We held the swimming program at Wade's Beach in the afternoon. The southwest winds coming in, the little kids, wasn't the ideal situation to teach them how to swim.
yeah.
But we're actually thinking about moving the swimming program to Crescent, down from Crescent Beach.
Didn't it always
in the
used to be
morning-
at Crescent?
In the mornings.
Yeah.
You know, where parents said, yeah, that would be better. The water would be calmer, there'd be less people on the beach, less crowded.
Except for wakes, yeah.
Yeah, except for,
What day of the week? Is that usually weekdays, Jim?
it's weekdays, yes, not on weekends. No, it's just weekdays. So, but that program took off. It was very successful. And even with refunds, by the way, when, you know, if you register a child for a summer program and the week before something happens, kid breaks his leg or something, we refund that.
Yeah.
But if kid doesn't show up, and only comes 2 of the 5 days for a week-long program, we don't make any refunds on that.
Yeah.
Because it's based on a waiting list.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so the next one I'm just going over with Amber is, if we go down to the
Adult program.
youth center. Also, question for myself. Yeah, it's youth center, but when I say here, youth center, I think youth center, but it's really the,
The rec center.
community center, right, the rec center, right. So the question was the, same as the youth programs, the recreation, adult programs. And again, this is it's a little less than a wash. We actually make a little bit of money on this one. What we projected that one
For
even?
adult, it's even, it's
Even?
15.
Okay.
15 revenue, 15 expense.
Okay, so that can stay the same.
Yeah.
Because if we took it off on one, we have to take it off on the other, so let's leave it.
And I'll tell you, our winter programs coming up in those areas, ballroom dance for adults.
Yeah, that's great.
Adult pottery class, crystal singing, bowls, which involves meditation. There's some new programs, exciting programs. So the great thing about art, they go with the wishes of the people, and they're always looking for new activities.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're well subscribed, they have that. So, both Bethany and Emily have done a marvelous job tailor making it to the needs
Yeah, that's great.
of adults as well as children. Really good.
Okay, next is Community Housing Board, 8140.480. This was consulting, and we did have a discussion about this. We only budgeted 2,500 last year. We modified it to 16,735. And I propose we kept it the same because BJ had asked, well, we're winding down, but really, to me, we're just winding up.
Right.
We're just really getting started with the consultants and stuff. So BJ suggested $14,2,700 savings. I'd like to keep it what we modified it to.
Okay.
Okay. Hazmat personal services. Question.
Yeah, we took that out.
Yeah, we took that out. That was a question of with the new
Just out of curiosity.
service we're using.
In community housing, the
Yeah.
legal services of $2,000. Can somebody?
Well, we're doing, that's anything that we can't do in-house if we need some outside
Okay.
counsel.
Yeah, we wanted to use somebody who has expertise in, doing something with leases or
Okay.
just
All right.
specialized.
Got it.
That's it.
Okay, that's it for the A fund. If we go to the D fund, I think we have anything for the D fund.
Just out of curiosity.
Didn't do anything with it.
And it's not a lot of money, but the piping plover thing for $2,700, I know contractual is.
So if we don't spend that every year, we just encumber it? Well, no, we put it in the general
It
fund,
just goes back into fund balance.
right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's nice to have it in fund balance, but the year that we're looking for money, we didn't spend any money, through the summer of this year. Is that not something that is such a minor thing that we absorb it in our highway department? And we're looking to pick up monies,
Are you familiar with the piping plover program?
Not that much, no.
I don't know, I mean, I know we're obligated to do it, but we usually have volunteers.
Right,
But there will come a day when people don't want to volunteer anymore.
right, but I like Jim's idea of it being absorbed in the Public Works Highway.
Yeah, those are the guys that
Those
go out and
tasks.
actually, are gonna run and it takes, by the way, that's all done with 2 guys in an hour. I mean, you take that bunch of
Do we
things.
do it this way so that we can get a reimbursement from a grant?
Yeah, yeah.
And, really,
And it basically, the people that do work that, to monitor the piping plover situation here, I thought they were always volunteers.
Yeah, they were,
In positions.
well,
Again,
they're
it
volunteer by
depends.
choice, though.
It
I
depends what
mean,
you
we're
wanna do.
obligated to do it. It's just that we're fortunate enough that people volunteer. As far as the highway, they already do the fencing and stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that's not allocated.
Yeah.
It's just part of their job.
yeah.
Yeah.
So can we take it off?
All right.
Could we modify it at least? Just to pick up money, here and there,
Let's pull the trigger on this one. It's $2,000.
almost $3,000.
Yeah.
Your decision. I'm not gonna-
I say get rid of it.
I'm not
I say either
gonna
get rid of it or go back to, 1,200, 1,500 and pick up.
Amber?
If we haven't used it in the past few years, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as long as we're sort of on the subject, what do we decide with the clam seeding? That, it's always, we budget for that, but someone asked about WQI money or something?
I said I wondered if it was, and Meg was pretty sure it wasn't, but I think it's still a question.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we just, well, I signed it, but I think I have to be authorized to sign the 2022 agreement so they can bring, they want to bring the
Yeah.
clams, oysters, and scallops. So the 2024 or 2023, I told them we'd have to wait till,
Yes,
Yeah.
we got the per-
yeah, this is two. So we have the one that we can sign for this year, and the next one I told you that we have to wait till we authorize the budget.
Should we task Stephen with investigating whether or not WQI
Yeah.
funds can be used for that?
But it's 12,000, in the budget, we've got 12,500, so we've knocked 500 off on that.
Okay. Got that one, Joe?
Yeah.
Of that.
I mean, she already adjusted.
Okay. All right, so two topics of discussion now. One is office and miscellaneous. I think the total savings was, I know the total savings. $7,742.
What does it come up to?
$7,742 if we took out the,
Everything that's in there?
yeah, that.
And I haven't,
Recommendations.
yeah.
My feeling is, we really operate, bare bones.
Mhm.
And if somebody needs something, I'd hate to, not have it there. It's not a significant amount of money, that hush money that we're hiding.
No,
So I feel comfortable leaving it. And, if we don't use it, it goes into general fund.
yeah.
You good with that?
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
Okay.
yeah. Some
I would like to go look at everybody's supply closets. No, I'm just kidding. We did that at the school one year and it was stunning. Stunning. There was faded construction paper. Like, how long had that been there?
Yeah.
He had 2 year supplies for the entire women's, girls, in case we ever run on austerity.
Yeah.
It was not going to be fundraising needed. We're in the back. We had 2 years supply of everything, everything. She was amazing. And back in those days, by the way, before Title IX,
Yeah.
it was a secret way to get in and under lock and key.
Oh, that's funny.
And the athletic director, the person in charge, her boss, had no idea what this stash, the hidden stash.
Wow. Okay, so the next discussion is a big one. I made a proposal that we raise the mooring fees. And my justification was, again, we're doing a lot of things user fee oriented. And my feeling was I tried to outline all the things that I felt were marine oriented, that were justified to be used. We made a proposal. We had three options on there. Mooring increases, we gave it to the WMAC and asked for their input on it.
At last night's meeting.
At last night's meeting, there was a lot of discussion. I don't think there was any real, anything came out of it, quite honestly,
Well, it did.
proposal wise. Well, I mean, everybody had, thoughts. Jim, you want to review?
Yeah, very briefly, it was obviously a lot of opposition to the drastic raising of fees. I think most of them, if I'm not all of the people in attendance, which I think all 7 were represented, either by Zoom or here in person, felt the need to raise them slightly. Now, slightly is defined
I wouldn't say
differently.
everybody felt that initially.
Well, not initially, no. But after I went through a litany of things of what
Right.
that thing was used for, I think they came around a little bit to say that some said a very, I say negligible increase, and others went as high as 25% increase, which we were looking for a little bit more than that. But I think that I would say by the end of the meeting, we got 2 or 3 people that said I could live with that 25% increase.
That was for a 3-year permit,
Yeah,
which is,
8% a year.
yeah.
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 I think, again, the reasoning behind it was, one, as I just said, we're trying to go to user fees rather than the general tax base for certain items that, we can justify. And two, mooring fees haven't been raised in over 20-something years.
Right.
So I think, that needs to come into it. The discussion came up with CPI, if we raised it 8%, or someone said, let's average the last 3 or 4 years, that's going to come to like 2%. Because
Well,
it's been so low. Amber said, if we're going to do that, let's go back to the last time it was raised.
oh, exactly. And then if you compound, I mean, it is a
Right.
significant amount of money,
Right.
as low as inflation's been.
And
It
our
hasn't been
proposal
deflation.
was based on our neighbors in Southold. It's exactly the same as Southold. It's a little more than Southampton's, but Southampton has thousands of moorings.
We'll clarify which proposal that because we wanted the WMAC to discuss them as, individual options. But a part of the problem is, part of the problem last night was there was a lack of awareness that they had received this, there was an upset that this was sprung on them. And had they been given warning and time, it would have been a different discussion. I found that personally a little bothersome because they got the email on September 14th. The budget period is not an extended period of time for anybody. So when the budget calls, you sort of have to jump. So I just wanted to sort of answer that sort of complaint about this. The second thing is, at the end of the meeting, it became clear that people were unaware that they had an appropriation sheet, that this was the number, the expenses expected for next year that we were trying to cover. And when they were pulling Mike Anglin, a $7 increase, it wasn't related to this, which again, they've had it for a while, but there was not an understanding. When I spoke to a couple of them, sort of after the meeting, it's sort of like, well, why didn't you? I mean, well, I can't read your mind. I don't know that you have questions on a packet you received unless you ask me a question. I'm gonna.
I sent a cover letter to the WMAC explaining it. I sent the proposals, the options, and I said, please discuss this and give us a recommendation.
Right. The other thing, now, last night's discussion was wide-ranging, full of digressions, not on point for, I would say, about half the time. That being said, the digressions were tangentially related because it's a fundamental philosophical disagreement on user fees. They disagree, by and large. There really wasn't dissension among them that this is a proper way. So one example given last night was somebody who's out on their sunfish, and gets rescued by the cop. Well, she hasn't paid a mooring fee. And I found that just somehow disingenuous, like, okay, but we still have a bay constable out there, and we still have to pay for them. And so, part of my thing, I mean, I'm a liberal, I believe in this. This is a luxury item that I don't believe the entire tax base should carry for these expenses.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. A lot of them were questioning the use of the fund.
Full stop. Yeah.
Of why we're using it to, and that Dickinson Creek dock that came up, bulkhead, came up, and that was questioned, and I said yes, but we've taken care of Condon Dock. We are in the midst of taking care of the bulkhead at Condon Creek. We're taking care of South Silver Beach bulkhead. There are 2 boat engines that we are hopeful that the state will provide us. They're $20,000 a piece for a police boat. Even police boats in themselves, what we've gotten in the past, we may not get for the future. We have to have ways of doing this.
To have capital fund.
We got to have the capital fund. So I disagree. I think the role of police and bay constables here we have talked ad nauseum about the pros and cons of having a pump out boat with a municipal agreement with other municipalities in the area. We don't probably need one 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but it would be nice on the weekend if we checked the three harbors, offered that service available on a Saturday or Sunday, or both days perhaps, maybe once during the week, and that people would pay, for the service of having it done. There's an argument between 7 people that have 125 years of experience of the need for that. Some people believe that, boaters, don't flush into the bays. John made the point, well, by the way, by law, you can go out 3 miles into the ocean and you can flush your boat. You don't have to have it pumped out.
True.
So natural tendency is if you're telling people that they can go out 3 miles and flush with the price of gas, why go out 3 miles? Why not go out 2 miles? Why not go out a mile? Why go out at all? Why not just flush it right where you are? And by the way, if you're there for a 4 day weekend inside the harbor with 3 or 4 or 5 people on board, all tied up, you're not breaking chain to go over to get pumped out, but that thing is filling up. So, there are people on the committee that have been fighting for pump out boat service, especially on weekends in our 3 major bays. A lot of out-of-staters, and people that may or may not value the quality of our waters. Our fishermen have talked, our shell fishermen have talked about that concern in the past. So I said, hey, guys, here's a perfect opportunity by raising mooring fees. The other thing that was expressed by the group last night was, why are we just picking on moorings? Why are we picking on other marine assets like docks and other such things? I said, guys, we have as a town, building department has raised their fees. We have raised their fees here at Town Hall. We have raised our fees at the recycling center. When you talk about not having raised fees for 3 years, over 2 decades, and then come out with an offer of $6 or $7, are you kidding me? I mean, I remember the feedback that we got at Silver Beach when we doubled the price of people that were at the lagoon. We went from $125 to $250. We raised it $125. And most people, but there were several people that, what am I getting?
Yeah.
This is not Condon Dock. We don't have electrical. We don't have this, that, and the other thing. I said, yeah, but you can tie your boat up there for 4 or 5 months for basically $1.50 to $2 a day. And that's a problem for you? You got to be kidding me. I mean,
Kind of crazy.
it's, so we did try to go in that route. Now, I do respect these guys tremendously, but here's a personal feeling, and I know I'll get flack for this, but I'm going to say it anyhow. In this particular instance, we have people on the committee that obviously this is going to impact, business-wise. So they should either be recused from the discussion or
It's us.
be a little bit more sensitive to,
We did this number.
to where this is coming from, so.
No, but I thought this was the number.
Just think,
You changed it, I see.
Yeah, to make it
Okay.
not so drastic.
Okay,
And so you do that plus that, I come almost
Right.
to.
Yeah, but we had discussed this though, about the rate how do you feel? What do other people feel about what would be a recommended,
Let's get that, let's talk a second about fairness.
okay.
Because I really do like this idea. In fact, that's what the marina charges on a graded, depending on the size of the boat, you pay
Right.
more. South Hold, that's how they charge as well. I think it's fair. I think it's progressive and liberal. Just to come back to that again. And it was poo-pooed last night. That was the most shocking thing about this to me. Mike Angren's argument was, it's 150 feet of swing, no matter what size boat is on there. But it doesn't have to be that way. I think we can do less swing on smaller boats and bigger swing.
Especially if you tailor-make it that way.
Right, and again, it's not gonna happen overnight, but it could be over time that we tighten up the fields a little bit, so.
But there is discrimination if you dock a boat for footage, if you pull into a dock, for dinner, and you have a 40-foot boat versus a 20-foot boat, be prepared to pay a little bit more for that 40-foot.
Right.
If you're gonna be there for 3 or 4 hours, that you have dinner and walk to town.
And the
That's a
burden,
fact.
and the burden, you know, if you have a smaller boat, I mean, just to, you know, maybe boat size is sort of some sort of correlation loose with income, you know, with ability to pay.
Right.
So I think that's, I was a little surprised that that was not even entertained as part of the discussion.
And the tendency has been, realistically, for the boats to get larger. They're not getting smaller,
No,
they're getting larger. And all moorings, we talk about pulley moorings, they're very popular too, but again, it's an asset, the town, you know. I just think, I don't know, I think we need to be fair, and I think they made some points that I appreciate. And, but I think they have to appreciate the amount of expense of what we try to do by maintaining our marine assets. You know,
there was one call for a $50 increase, again, for the 3-year fee. But that was, I mean, I just wanted to make sure you had the full range here of what was discussed.
Okay, so again, with my proposal, we're looking at, what I say is water related is $171,214 in expenses.
Yeah.
With my original proposal, our income would have been
It's in at 248,650.
248,650. Now, people will say, well, you're only spending 171,000, why are you 248? I don't think we want to budget just enough to cover the expenses. I think we need to start building that up if there's an emergency, if Dawn Lane collapses, we need to fix it in a hurry.
I thought there was, Amber had sent out yesterday
Expenses.
Amber
Yes.
Wilson, a fund sheet.
Yes.
And it, if I'm just going from memory, because, you know, for me to find it, it'll be forever. 150,000 is the balance right now? I'm about close, right?
Yeah.
So,
I have an anticipated figure for the end of 2022.
yeah,
what is that, Amber?
It's 136,494.
should be left in the fund.
When we get to the end of this year, because our revenues and then what expenditures.
And to be honest, I spoke to that last night, because I've followed this closely for 7 years. We have been between, on a bad year, 240, 250, on a good year, 3.25. We have been in the high twos for most of that time. We have trended down because we have made use of that money to pay for assets that we thought were justified. It's a question of whether they feel it or we feel it, but these things, nobody quibbles over the fact that these things are done and there's improvement. Last night, I used the example of, you know, when they brought up the Dickerson dock thing, saying that, oh, by the way, you know, the county paid for half of it, we paid for half of it. It had to be replaced. We moved a police boat there to save ourselves some money, but we've also repositioned these boats and paid off money to better coverage for emergencies. And I made that point last night, saying, well, they didn't think, some people felt that wasn't, hey, guys, it isn't a problem unless you're in trouble one day. And I used the example, by the way, of the fishermen that were up off a Real Point 2 weeks ago. The fact that we were able to have a boat pre-positioned, get out there in a matter of minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, to rescue 2 guys in the water that were, even with the warmer water, were on the verge of hypothermia, and rescue them, you know, that's important.
We also have a mooring code that needs to be enforced. Because that was repeated over and over again. Why are we sending a guy out there with a gun? It could be done by a high school student. It was suggested that I go out and do it because a previous town councilman had done a 2-week stint on the water every year to look at moorings. Thanks very much, but I would spend my time on the water another way. Anyway, if we have a code that says you can do only thus and thus and thus with your moorings, that code should be enforced. There needs to be a bay constable, somebody with the authority to enforce the code out there. I mean, besides what you said, I mean, it's like an additional.
Even aside from the code part of it, BJ, is we have, you know, a very substantial and qualified Bay Constable department
Yeah.
that is out on the water all the time.
Yeah.
And they know the moorings and they know what's going on. And if there's a question, that's who we go to.
Right.
And if we need to, when I sit in and watch the meetings and, Christina pulls up the map and somebody from the committee, well, that's not where that mooring's supposed to be. So then we have the Bay Constables, they're there.
Yeah.
They're on the water already. They can
Right.
GPS and tell us, what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, and now that, one of the committee members is not on the water every day, as she used to be, is going to be our eyes on the water? It's got to be the Bay Constables. That's their job.
Right.
And therefore.
Surely not a function of a council.
The other big thing that the question I think they kept raising, from the way I observed it, was why are you making only the mooring people pay for
That's
this?
what I just said, yeah.
And Jim had mentioned that, and it's because we can, because we have the ability that, it is a luxury. There's not, it's not a God-given right, and it's not mandated that they have a mooring, but we charge for the mooring, so this is one way to do it. If there was a way we can charge for people to keep their boats at the dock,
Right.
but there is no way to do
To
that.
enjoy the scenery.
Right.
Which was brought up.
Right.
I mean, okay, yes, there is such a thing as a tax base, but this to me is obvious where these expenses should be covered.
Right.
I
also-
don't think it's onerous.
Looking at water quality. So everything that we do, whether it's promoting $15,000, $20,000 for shellfish restoration or eelgrass restoration, water quality is important. Water quality is important to every boater.
Yeah.
So especially boaters that frequent Shelter Island waters. So obviously, town is not turning on back to any of this.
Yeah.
Making these
We have to pay
constant
for it.
improvements, but you got to be able to pay for it. This is not just money that's being manufactured in the basement. A couple of times when they said, well, yeah, we understood some of our money used to go to pay to the town clerk's office because they spent so many hours on the mooring situation. I said, yes, but we're doing a lot of things, a lot of things that involve water. I just think they have to be a little bit more supportive and understanding of the tax base, and revenues are important. We haven't been discriminating against any one group. We have gone fairly across all groups with reasonable expectations. I fought for 7 years about the leaf thing and finally Jerry got down there and said, hey, made it happen. But you will see, and I used the example last night, that machinery of $710,000 doesn't pay for itself. The tractors and all the oil and the fuel that we use to move literally tons and tons of leaves and debris around. When you just don't dump it, you go home. But to pass that along to a homeowner, paying $550 to have your lawn cleaned up, so now you're paying $590. You're adding an extra $40 for at the scale.
And
Who should pay that? The taxpayer? No, I don't think so.
And BJ, that was the other thing that maybe I missed it or I didn't understand it. Just like the user fees at the landfill, it's passed on to, the contractors pay it, but it's passed on to the customers.
Right.
So why wouldn't the increase in mooring fee for commercial moorings be passed on to the customer?
Exactly.
And if they say, well, it's what the market bears. Well, they are the market. I mean, if there's no mooring fields, then where are they going to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Anchor any anchorage?
Exactly. And if you want a mooring, well, just based on personal experience, if you want a mooring, you're going to pay for it. It's the number. I mean, this is the peace of mind I want tonight. I need the shower or whatever the reason. I want the launch.
I would say in the future, to question the account, how money's sort of spent from the account. We can, between BJ and I over the course of the winter, we can maybe do that as along with somebody, and we'll look up how the money's
Yeah.
spent.
Amber gave us the breakdown.
Yeah.
Where all the money went.
And we will educate you about, where that money is being utilized. Is it being utilized differently? The answer obviously is yes, but there's justification for it. We can justify that. But we sit in a position where we want to be fair to everybody, and not increasing fees for over 2 decades and then suggesting an increase and having the response that we got last night from a few people was, I don't want to use the word an insult, but it was, come on, you got to be
It
kidding.
was aggressive.
And again, just to emphasize the point, we're not looking to raise this money just to put it in the capital fund. We're using it for very specific reasons. And Amber and I have discussed, and if there is an overflow that's gonna go to WMAC capital projects.
Yeah.
It's gonna stay in that, that fund.
And we do need to, we have to look at where our waterways balance should be, because we're starting to use it more for operational costs, which has been borne by the tax base in general. Very little has been used for operational expenses. We've used it for bulkhead repairs. Was it either Darns Lane or, I always forget which one.
Dickerson Park.
Yes.
And then we're gonna do some at Condon Creek, right?
Condon Creek.
Right, yeah.
It's coming up.
But what we really need to do is we need to look at all of our marine assets so that we do maintain a proper waterways balance, so that when, 5 years from now, we have the money instead of having to do a big hit to the tax base to cover aging assets. So there's a few things that we need to really focus on this year to make sure that we're
We talked about that in the capital planning meeting this morning, the fact that we have, Joe has gone down along with Jennifer and Brian, and they have done a complete inventory of our marine assets and our buildings. And we know the state of repair that they're in and what needs to be done. And as Chief said to me, I'm getting into my presentation here after the meeting here, but Chief said, and now it's time to prioritize those things. So I think Amber's right, that once we have that capital plan, I think we need to continue to work towards this winter, developing and finalizing to a certain extent, even if we modify and say all our buildings and all our marine assets. Does that cover everything? No, but at least those are the big ones that we need to, make a determination on. What do they have left in them? How many years? Are they repairable, or do they have to be replaced? These are questions that a capital plan will tell you so that you can better prioritize and balance it so you don't get hit with a whole lot of stuff. And as I said in the past, and I'm not condemning anybody, just that a lot of this stuff, whether it's the buildings or our marine assets, have not gotten a fair shake in the budget for a number of reasons. But now, it's come home to roost, and we have to start doing things. You can't just walk away from ADA compliance. You can't just walk away from bulkheads that are crumbling, because other damage happens as a result of that. So we're trying to do things in a responsible manner. Road elevations, all that stuff. And that's all part of our mitigation plan. That mitigation plan is driving force in the capital plan. There's some key elements to that plan that need to be adhered to, so.
Yeah. So if we, do we want the detail? Because I think that balance that Amber just showed us, and, the idea that there'll be more operational expenses before the end of the year, so that'll be reduced a little bit. That we could, that might be sufficient for the next year or two to go with what is B and my revised, so option B, and my revised residential option B.
Which one is B? Because I'm working off an earlier spreadsheet, or maybe this is.
So, that is early. Well, that's way, yeah.
Right, so B is-
92.5, right?
B is
Yeah.
250.
It was 250,
Mm-hmm.
and you come up with 71,250.
Yes.
And
Okay.
then this I modified to 1, 2, and 3, like half of it is over here,
Okay, so
What do you come to?
80,700.
BJ, can I make a
Someone
couple
should-
copies for
yeah.
everybody for that?
You sure those numbers are right, BJ?
Yeah,
Right,
that's
I'll be right back
what
with all
someone
of
has
this,
to
Chair.
do.
Okay,
Give everybody a copy.
so you have 161 times 100.
200 to 100.
Right, and these are annual, yeah.
All right, so.
You have,
And that was, admittedly kind of simplistic. Could certainly go higher on the bigger boats.
What I also wanted to do is, do we know how long it's actually been since we've raised fees? Because I've got the CP.
I was supervisor when we raised them, so it's a minimum of 20 years.
All right, so give me a base year. What year were you supervising?
Let's say 2000.
2000.
I would say 98 or 2000, 99 or 2000.
All right, we'll say 2000. So if I say January 2000 to January 2023, And you're starting to look at this. We're looking at $75 a year because it's
Right.
$225 over.
Yes, yeah, it's easy to look at it per year.
So that $75 equates to $131.
Yeah. So,
We adjust.
so the base there for the tiny boat,
Your number is, excuse me,
I didn't add right?
yeah, you didn't- it's 92,500.
Oh, good,
Okay, if we cut it in half.
yeah. So then we get closer to the operational cost. What I'm trying to,
What kind of do you?
I did 161 times 100,
Okay, so, yeah,
146 times
200,
200, and 118 times
300.
300. Those are the three numbers I came up with.
That 47,200 can't be right, because that isn't half of 7,800.
Yeah, but I know it, but
Oh, so her
go
number, yeah.
go 118,
On all the
Times
mooring,
200.
so if somebody just picked up a mooring application for this year,
118 times
would they,
400.
would that impact them at all now?
that's a good question, I don't know, we'd have to make the decision, are we gonna, like, apply if they've paid?
Yeah.
You know, pick a date when we change,
Well,
literally change the
That's
fees.
a big question, Jerry. And Amber and I were talking about that very question the other day, about somebody this year that has picked up a 3-year mooring thing. Would this impact them in 3 years, or would this impact them immediately?
I don't know, I think we have to have a discussion with the Dottie and the Bay Constables about Bo, to see how the rolling, you know, how they want to, you know,
Here's my feeling.
what's the,
If we do it over 3 years,
yeah,
the people that are doing it this year are gonna say, well, I'm getting screwed because the other two people getting 2 extra years at the old price.
right,
My feeling is do everybody at once,
yeah.
and if they have 2 years left, you're
Right.
crediting the difference.
I think that's.
That's my feeling.
I think
Amber
that's
feels
fair.
different though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like, you know, if you go to DMV, you get your car registration for 2 years, and then DMV comes back to you next year and says, sorry, we're only letting you have the 1 year, and now you gotta re-up, but we'll give you a credit. For some reason, it just doesn't sit well with me.
yeah,
It's like, we made a promise, we had a contract with you.
we had a contract, right.
This is wrong, sorry. The bottom one is 47,200. BJ's math was wrong.
Lower right?
Well, you went to 300.
That's
Yeah.
what I
Oh,
said.
I went to 400 because you cut everything in half.
Right, well,
So half of 6.
100 is 3.
You know why? Because I had 8. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yours is right, mine's wrong. Okay.
All right. Do you have a degree in statistics, but okay, no.
He's already got the math girl here.
So the first thing we gotta do is decide if we want to do it, and then we can figure out how we're gonna do it.
Right,
Well, there's those three questions. The question is both being factored in? That's question one. Question two is, are we retroacting that, you know, doing this over the course of 3 years, or doing it all at once? And the third question is to what degree, what percentage?
So getting back to mine, where we had, if you go to an annual 75, like inflation adjusted, it's 131, but this is at 250.
yeah, for commercial.
And what are we doing for residential?
Well, currently residential is $50 per year.
Because it was 150 for 3 years.
150 for 3, yep.
How'd you come up with the number? Go back to 2,000. The cost of living is here plus
that factored in
you compound it?
Yeah, it seems low though, because we had, you know, prior to the Great Recession, they were pretty heady days. You know, there was some inflation there.
1 second. We've got commercial mooring, so we're saying that if we do 250 per year, we're generating 71,250.
Right.
Yes,
And then we're looking at, okay, so then residential goes from just a flat to a boat length.
yes,
Okay, got it.
That's based on exactly what Southhold does.
All right, I
And
just
this
was
is at
missing
half, at
that.
half the cost of Southhold, what BJ is proposing now.
And option B is half the cost of option C.
Of option A,
Yeah, and but I do.
for, on the bottom for the residential. I mean, but, yeah, residential.
Okay, residential.
So this was option A, and this is option B.
Okay,
Because frankly, the part that's missing from the CPI analysis is we don't know how far below the sort of the operational number we started from.
Mhm.
You know, way back then, what was $50 a year covering in terms of a budget? I don't even know how it was handled then. So if that number was low to begin with, then you don't get to the numbers we have.
If you're talking market rates,
Yeah.
how does our commercial compare to other municipalities?
It's fair. But I can do some more research on that. Have it for everybody, you know, and tomorrow.
Michelle, what's our schedule officially that we have to adopt?
November 20th.
So our public hearing is, we have to have
Yeah,
an adopted one for the, like, something that's we stop playing with
Yeah.
for the public to.
November 10th.
November 10th, so.
so currently residential is $50 a year, is that right?
yes.
Currently.
What I'm saying is we don't have to come up with an answer here. We just have to know that what direction we're going.
Right.
So Amber and I can go over the numbers.
Now, just in terms of neighbors, I think we're the only one with commercial mooring, the way we define commercial mooring, because I believe Southampton has commercial moorings, but they define it as fishermen.
Right.
And that's $125 a year for people who are in Bayman. So that's just not equivalent. They're not renting out those, you know, the idea is
Right.
that there's a, you know, in fact, we heard it during the discussion of the Rams Head Inn and now that Jack's has changed hands. I have heard it from just people in the community of, you know, they're making a tidy little dollar. And you know, again, they have costs associated with that. No one's denying, you know, that. And certainly no one wants to run them, you know, financially into the ground. But that argument is also a little difficult if you don't open up your books.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, okay, so, you know, from the outside looking in, $250 a year as a starting point in discussion doesn't look onerous based on what you're charging publicly.
Right. So Jim, you're gonna be away till what's the date you coming back?
Okay,
October 15th is Saturday, so we forgot his thing.
Okay, and BJ, you going back?
but end of October.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to do.
Why don't we do the Tuesday after 15th, whatever the Tuesday after the 15th is? Let's try to get 18th, get this finished.
All right,
Tuesday, the 18th.
All right. And Amber, by then you and I will go over the fund balance, see what we have there. So break down
Yes.
these expenses.
that's a town board,
We'll have a concrete,
that's a board meeting day, so that's a long day then, but I'm okay with
How
that.
about we do it Monday then?
Monday'd be great.
Monday? Do it back,
Monday
yeah.
morning.
Sure.
Okay,
CPF is at 8:30,
so was that the 17th?
On the 7th, okay, so CPF is when?
8:30 on
So
Monday.
it's 10 o'clock, 10 a.m.
10 a.m. is good.
End the meeting,
Yeah,
yeah,
sounds good.
It's the 17th on the Monday, at 10 a.m.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll have everything, hold on.
Supervisor, can I just make one slight recommendation? That you invite Bo into that conversation, just because the ramifications on the agency to implement either a refund, that documenting the mornings, there might be some input that might be of value there.
Yes,
I would think we'd bring them to the work session prior to that, so we can have some discussion, because we're gonna try to
yes,
finalize numbers, chief. So I think if we brought them to the week before that to meet, unless that's the week we're doing the
That's what we
wastewater.
could do in the,
no,
Wastewater,
Is
The
it?
11th, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll figure it out, okay. No, yeah, I
Just be
understand.
inclusive of us, and I think we might have some insight there.
Oh, no question.
And you can even do that offline.
Right,
It doesn't have to be on
right.
the phone.
Maybe with that, you have a smaller meeting and,
Have a working group and.
yeah, okay. All right, I think we're gonna have to stop the budget right now because we
Interviews.
have an interview and we have, some legal advice we have to go on about. So, if we can just quickly go into a special meeting, Dot.
Yes, yes.
Authorize the deputy supervisor to sign a contract to conduct a secret review.
So do you have to adjourn this meeting?
So we're
When
gonna
you recess the work session.
recess the work session, went to a special meeting, and we're gonna
I got the
close the special meeting,
And then go back into the work session,
and then close the
executive session.
executive session, right?
To make a motion to recess the work session.
Okay, so we're making a motion to recess the work session
Second.
to go into a special meeting. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right, Jim's gonna sign it. We have the, you have the
Yep,
resolution?
I have it. Be it resolved that the deputy supervisor is hereby authorized to sign the contract between the town of Shelter Island and William Hayjack for secret review consultant. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Am I allowed to vote?
No.
No.
Okay. I'll abstain. Okay.
So, three
We
ayes.
got three of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's,
Pass it.
if the question is why am I not allowed to vote, this has to do with, Ramsden Inn, and there's some litigation and personally involving myself and the town attorney. So, we'll stay out of it. Okay, so we did that, now we'll, recess, adjourn that meeting, adjourn,
No,
Be a closing now.
close that meeting, and, reopen the work session.
Only two.
And before I make a motion, we go into executive session real quick. Any questions from the papers?
do board member reports next week.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, we can reopen the meeting afterwards, but,
afterwards, we really have to.
yeah. Julia?
Yeah, if you could share that working document once it's in better order so that we can report out what the kind of fees you're talking about. It's very hard to follow without actually seeing
Yep.
it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna do one very quick board member report from me, but we're not gonna go around the table. Someone gave me a copy of the letter that they were sent October 1st, 2022, regarding an important message from your neighbors on Shelter Island regarding Proposition 3, the housing referendum. Now, I don't know, this was mailed or emailed or?
It was mailed to the person's New York City address. They have a Shelter Island home. And it was a photograph that this person sent to me. And at the bottom, he said, nice to get an anonymous letter like this in the mail. So it was anonymous, not signed, which is interesting in and of itself.
And again, we're going back to, statements that are just not true. Election day is drawing near, and we are writing to remind you of a very important ballot measure that will be on vote November 8th, the referendum called Proposition 3, that will raise taxes to build affordable, i.e. high-density housing anywhere on the island. So neither of those statements are true. Concerned Republicans and Democrats are joining forces to oppose Proposition 3. The risks are huge. Even former Councilman Albert Dixon called for a delay. Then it has the copy of the headline, Dixon calls for housing referendum delay. And it goes on to say, here are some reasons why so many of us are voting no on the housing referendum. The proposed law is not a one-off event to build a few houses. If the law, if passed, would raise an irreversible flow of as much as $40 million over the next 20 years. Money that will be spent on building an ever-increasing number of low-cost, multi-unit apartment buildings. So let's take that one first.
40 million.
I don't think 40 million we would get in total in the next century. Never mind. I mean, we're estimating.
Gordon would have bought Shelter Island by now.
Right.
For CPF, if that
Yes.
was the kind of revenue
Well, this is
stream.
based on 0.5%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, I
My
mean,
calculation is, because we've had a couple of good years recently, but I don't expect that to stay. Over 20 years, the number might be between 8 and 10 million.
this year to date, we're at $2,190,000.
Right.
And the last 2 years have been,
But if you go back to the
record-breaking
program,
for us.
So I
Right.
based it on like an
Right.
average of 400.
let's just break that down. 8 to 10 million in a 20-year period will buy us approximately 10 to 12 units.
Right.
It's
So,
not,
so that's the first part. The 40 million is outright wrong. The money will be spent on an ever-increasing number of low-cost, multi-unit apartment buildings. Apartment buildings were never in the discussion. We're looking at a specific number. Right now, we're looking between 20 and 40 units. So that's a lie.
And the
It's
housing.
not even a
plan-
fallacy, it's a
The
lie.
housing plan isn't calling for multi-unit apartments.
Right.
You know, a 4-unit apartment, you know, not even an apartment building, it would be something.
Right.
Manor house.
Okay,
cottage
number
stuff.
2. It would also authorize the town to purchase vacant land to build apartments all over the island, crowding our neighbors and stressing our fragile aquifers.
Again. not in
Again,
the plan.
not true,
Not in the plan.
not at all.
We have to have receiving areas it can handle.
Number 3, not only may this adversely affect your quality of life and real estate values, your property taxes will increase. I'm not sure how our property taxes will increase.
if you
but
take
it's-
10 million off the base that we have now, I don't know what the number is, but I don't think you'll notice it in your tax rate.
Right.
I mean, that's what that claim is.
Well, the claim is no one living on town-owned property will have to pay property taxes. So all of us who do pay property taxes will have to pay even more for town services, fire, police, medical, highways, recreation, et cetera, to support an ever-increasing number of households who will have no property taxes to pay. Again, I mean, the worst part about this letter is, number one, well, the worst, there's a lot of worst parts. It's not true. In fact, it's lies. And 2, it's not signed by anybody.
Yeah, it's fear money.
If you want to, be proactive and state your case, have the, I don't know what the word I'm
Decency.
trying to use is. Decency.
Be an adult.
The words I didn't want to use. And sign your name
Own
to
it,
it.
yeah.
Own it. So,
Well, we are going to have a forum.
yes, and that's kind of what I'm leading into. October 15th, Saturday, we're going to have a forum at the school, 3 p.m. To discuss this very issue. And we will have all our facts in place and we will respond to any questions or any fallacies that are out there. So that's it. So I'm going to make a motion. We go into executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?